Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Caldwell County Schools Profiles. I'm Don Phipps, Superintendent of the Caldwell County Schools, and I'll be the host for today's episode. We have 3 segments, all very exciting, that we'd like you to stay with us through. Our first segment, we're going to be having a conversation about National Board certification for our teachers. We have one of our teachers who's just recently completed the certification process. And in segments 2 and 3, we'll have Dr. Bill Griffin, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, talking about some topics that are relevant in his area. But we're going to begin with segment 1, and I have with me Stephanie Keller, who's a teacher from Happy Valley Elementary, and you're one of our newest Nationally Board Certified teachers. Talk to us a little bit about that process and what you went through.
I applied to do my national boards last year, and I decided to do all 4 components in 1 year, which was a challenging aspect for me and my career. But you know, as I came out on the other side of it, I feel like I am a better, more well-rounded educator, much more reflective, and just I know my student population overall.
With this being the highest level of teacher certification and a recognition that a teacher can get, 280 of the educators in Caldwell County have received certification through the years. We've recently been designated as a school system of distinction for the National Board Certification. What is it about the program that attracted you to go through what is a very difficult process?
I really wanted to expand my career and find room for growth and opportunity, and this was kind of the next step for me. And so, you know, I taught for years, and then I moved into the school library for a while, and I just really wanted to kind of expand upon that and grow. And so the National Boards process required me to do a lot of data, research on my, demographics, student population. It was just a process in which I felt like it was the best move for my career at that time. And I feel like I know the kids at Happy Valley inside and out. And I understand my job position as a school librarian or a media specialist, and how I can really use that to make the school stronger as well as the county stronger.
Now, we have 4 individuals that were newly certified in 2019. Jeannie Robinson and Frieda Parker, who are both with the Caldwell Applied Sciences Academy. You, of course, from Happy Valley, and Emily Aldaco from Hudson Elementary. Do you all work together when you're going through that, or is it more of an individual type thing? And where does the work of our teacher mentor, Heather Poole, come into play?
I tell you, that was the most supportive part of this process. I think I would be lost without that teacher mentor program put together by Caldwell County Schools. Every week, Heather was available to meet with us, go over each individual component, how to complete the National Board process. She was always there, a phone call away, an email away, but better yet, through that mentoring program, she aligned several presenters to come in to us. And so we had aspects from different nationally board certified people across the county that she just kind of collected and put together for us. And so as I approached each step in the process, I got to watch a presentation, I got to fully understand it, and then she allowed for different mentors to come in and meet with us one-on-one to, kind of go over each little individual component to make sure that we were successful.
So there's a combination of one-on-one work and then small group work?
Yeah.
Do you find that to be appealing or helpful to do it instead of just being one way?
Absolutely. I would have been lost without it. Like, it was the best supportive program, probably the best professional development that I've received in Caldwell County so far.
Well, my notes when we talk about the process, it says support sessions for initial candidates that are led by Heather Poole that we've mentioned. We also did a segment with Heather a few months ago that our viewers can go back and take a look at on the process as well. Teacher portfolios and student work samples, and then video analysis of classroom teaching and student learning and performance-based assessment. So there's a lot that we're talking about, and you did all of that in 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
What is the motivation behind that?
I wanted to become a better educator. I wanted to be the best for my students because, every one of us in education, we're here for the kids. And I wanted to just grow myself professionally and just be the best that I could be for them.
And you're in a media center.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different for a person who's in a classroom doing a classroom type of a teaching role, or is the process the same?
The process is different per each role. And like I did the school librarian, of course, media center and media role. I still had to teach, and the media lessons and everything that I did. But each individual teacher, if you're getting certified in elementary, it's a different track all in itself. Math, science, social studies. You can choose a gambit of directions to go into in whatever field you teach. And everybody has different requirements, different steps and rungs on the ladder that they have to go through.
And I think there are 25 different certification areas that educators can receive the recognition in. There are a number of incentives, and one is a 12% salary supplement that the state gives, CEUs that you earn, their paid release days for teaching duties. With all of that in play, what was the one thing or two things or so that were the biggest motivators or incentives for you?
Well, the 12% salary increase was really a great motivator. But then the earning the continuing education credits as well. So it really made it worth the process. It was a grueling process, especially to do all 4 components in 1 year. But, I feel like I will be rewarded in the end.
Right. When you look at yourself now and you can look back over the process, what did you learn through the process?
I learned how to reflect more on my teaching, how to adapt my teaching to student individual needs, how to collect data, poll the community, all before I do anything inside the classroom, and I could really, tweak my lessons to what my kids need. And like I said, the biggest part was the reflective piece. So I can go back and see, what did I do correct? What do I need improvement on? What did the kids receive the most from?
And is that reflected now in daily practice with what you do in your professional role?
Oh, absolutely.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you. We want to congratulate you and the others as well. We have a number in our county who also have renewed. So out of that 280, quite a few of those individuals are still with us. We want to congratulate all of those as well. But thank you for being here with us. We appreciate your time and hope you have a great rest of the school year.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us for the first segment. We want to invite you back again. Dr. Bill Griffin will be with us for segments 2 and 3. Welcome back to Caldwell County Schools Profiles. We're in segment 2, and I have Dr. Bill Griffin, our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, has joined me on the set. Dr. Griffin, thank you for being here.
Great, thank you for having me.
In this segment, I want to talk about the open enrollment for student transfers. And you and I both started the current roles that we're in July 1 of 2018. I came into a system that was brand new to me. You came back to a system, but at any rate, both started kind of fresh in 2018. Two of the biggest things I look back over 18 months, the positions that we had to capture is something I want to talk about in segment 3, but looking at student transfers from an athletic perspective, from just having a better handle on who was in our schools and where they were coming from to know what the transfer patterns looked like. We needed to get a better handle on that. So last year we started an application process, and we still allowed students to be able to apply to attend a school outside of their attendance area, and we called that the open enrollment for student transfers. Can you talk a little bit about where we are now? We designated in policy a transfer period. We've gone to electronic application process. Let's just talk about that a little bit so that the viewers are aware of it. We've gone through a year. I think folks learned that as we went through. We want to make sure that every year gets better and better, smoother and smoother.
Right.
So the transfer open period is when?
Is January 15th through February 28th.
Okay, January the 15th through the 28th of February. What happens after the 28th of February when the transfer window is officially closed?
Yeah, at that point, again, that window is closed, and it'd have to be an extenuating circumstance to allow a student to transfer at that point. You mentioned my job duties as human resources, and part of the issue that we were having with our transfers was we were not doing that annually. So I'd like to remind the viewers that as of now, they need to enroll and apply for a transfer each and every year that they would like their child to remain at that particular school. We did that. It was really a twofold reason, but the primary reason was making sure that we had a good account of where each and every student that we have within the district is located. So there's a lot of work that went into that and organizing those transfer policies to make sure that we know and are able to account from where those children are going to be each and every school year, so that we can properly employ and keep people in that school, as well as our buildings and facilities, making sure that we can maintain and know how many students are actually in that school building. So it's certainly important to us to know that information each and every year.
And that's a question that may come up from the public. Why does the window end early, like February the 28th? If we extended it out to the end of May, what hardship does that create in terms of looking at positions in schools and things like that?
And I'm thinking we're going to talk about positions in our third segment, which will be great for our viewers. But it's extremely important for us to know who is going to be in the building early spring. The earlier the better, because we have to employ our teachers for the upcoming school year. If we were to hold off transfers to the beginning of the summer, we would not have a regular, an accurate account of who's going to be in each of those classes, and employing teachers for that building would be almost impossible. So the sooner that we can get those numbers in each of our classes and in each of our buildings, the better we can really make a good estimate on how many teachers we need to hire for that particular building. It's also important for us when we're recruiting teachers, and we're reaching out to our local universities to know that we're going to need 10 or 15 elementary teachers or a high school teacher. So getting those transfers in place and getting a good estimate of what next year looks like is extremely important to us, because we want to hire the best individuals we can, and all the other districts around us are doing the same thing, and they're buying for the same teachers that we're recruiting as well. So the quicker we can have that estimate, the better it is for us in that process.
We see the value in providing choice to our students and families in terms of the educational offerings that we have. But one of the things that came up early on in my tenure here was the role that athletics play at the high school level, and the transfer students that were playing or not allowed to play, or whatever the questions were. We tried to clean that up as well and created a policy, and now a student who transfers into a high school attendance pattern that's not their home high school attendance pattern still have to sit out that first year, unless they've been in the attendance pattern the entire time that they've been in the Caldwell County schools.
Right.
Is that clear? Do you feel like folks understand that now?
I hope so. And people have questions about that. That policy is located on our webpage, the Caldwell County Schools webpage. It's also, when you do the new online process, as you're creating an account and as you're going through the login phase, it prompts you to read our transfer policy. It prompts you to read our athletic eligibility policy as it pertains to transfers. So we've put in some kind of stop gates in there to make sure that people understand what it is they're signing up for, and that they meet those regulations and policies that are aligned by our Board of Education. And
we hope that protects the integrity of competition for the athletic programs at our 3 high schools that participate in athletic programs. We're not trying to exclude anyone, but we want to make sure that we follow the rules as well in terms of not transferring just to be on a particular team.
Absolutely.
So we put that in place. Last year, parents and families had to do the paper application. This year, we're excited this year because we have an online version which is paperless. Can you talk about that a little bit? I know you've been through it and you've seen what that looks like.
I have. I've gone through our test procedures, and we'll hopefully we will have that live excuse me, by January 15th. Hats off to Joy Krause and Jill Duffy, our Director of Student Services, and Joey, her assistant. For many years, this has been really a daunting process for them. Currently sitting for the 19-20 school year, we have over 1,800 transfers within our school system. Before our new online portal, they've had to handle each one a sheet of paper and a transfer for each of those. And I've been in their offices at times, and it's really, again, a daunting process for them to keep in an orderly fashion of those transfers and where they're going. So with the age of technology, I think this will be a positive addition to our school system, and also for those that are doing the transfer. You would simply go to our webpage under the parent drop-down menu and find that transfer policy. At that point, you log on, you create an account. You log in your child that you're looking to do a transfer for. and then it'll prompt you into the different phases and steps to which you'll make that happen. And it'll be all digital, so we'll be able to warehouse that information. We'll be able to keep that information organized, and then you, as the parent, will also receive an email stating that you've created the process correctly, and then you'll be notified of that transfer.
And to wrap up this segment, I wanted to mention parents and students may hear that a school is closed for transfer, and we put a 90% capacity at that. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Ultimately, and it goes back to allotting teachers and making sure we have appropriate personnel for each of those buildings, but also physical space. Our buildings can only hold so many students per fire code and per classroom ratio. So we have to stay within those ratios at each of our buildings. And once we reach a 90% threshold or capacity, we do close those schools because throughout a school year, people move and people transfer, whether that is changing their domicile or whatever circumstances may be. So we can't hold them to 100% capacity. We have to have some leeway to make sure that we can run those schools properly throughout the school year.
But a student who's in the school already, who's already attended that school, if the school is designated as closed, to transfer is still allowed to, they still have to fill out the application.
Right, fill out that application. They're still allowed to stay within that school, but filling out that application once more gives us that correct data that they're going to be back there that next school year.
Okay. And parents or students that have questions should contact in the school system?
Probably Jill Duffy is our Director of Student Services, or Joy Krause, our assistant. They're up to date on this process daily and do a wonderful job.
Okay. And again, the application process opens January the 15th. It will be open until February the 28th. Reminder, everything is done online this year. There's no paper application. Again, we encourage you to investigate that. If you have any questions, give us a call and we'll help you out. Thank you for joining us for this segment. We have one more final segment, segment 3, with Dr. Bill Griffin with me when we come back. Welcome back to Caldwell County Schools Profiles. We're in our final segment, segment 3 of today's show. I still have with me on the set Dr. Bill Griffin, and I want to talk with you, Bill, if I could at this point, just about addressing some budget challenges. As we plan for 2021, and we're always working a year ahead, we move into a new year on the calendar, into the month of January. And I think many folks begin to think about budgets, whether you're in business or you're in schools or whatever. But we have a mandate, we have a requirement that we have to have a budget to our county commissioners by the month of May. Right. And you don't just create that in late April and then send it over to the commissioners. You pour over that. And I know we call this budget season, but for us, budget season really is a 12-month season.
Correct.
That we're looking at capital, and we're looking at personnel, we're looking at many things like that. One of the great challenges that we have in our school system right now is trying to make sure that we can create a budget that has very little or no reliance on our fund balance. And for the public, our fund balance would be savings that we've accumulated over the years. I know it's true that if we continue to budget and have to live off of our savings, eventually the savings is gone and we run into problems. So for 18 months, you and I have poured over positions, and we've looked at how many teaching positions and instructional assistant positions and every position that exists in our school system, how many we have allotted from the state. For the public to be aware, our funding sources are primarily federal funding, state funding, and local funding. And the majority of our money comes from the state. And most of those positions that we get come in terms of position allotments or dollar allotments. Can you help the public understand the value of average daily membership, what that means, and how that plays a key role in how much money we get from the state?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, we came in, as you alluded to earlier, almost 18 months ago. Our Board of Education takes a stand with making sure that we employ our folks. Our school system does not operate properly and effectively if we don't have great people in the classroom. So they've made a stand to make sure that we employ each and every person that we're capable of doing within our school system. But we were well aware upon entering this role that we had a job to do, and that was to balance our budget to make sure that we're not going into fund balance each and every year, and we've made a huge attempt to do so. In doing that, the majority of our budget is that of personnel. We employ over 1,700 employees. When you talk about our certified and classified individuals within our county, we are the largest employer in Caldwell County, so the majority, over 80% of our budget goes into that of personnel. So we know that we have to make sure that we're balancing it properly, and that goes into, as you talked about, the average daily membership, the ADM of each of our schools. We are given a certain amount of positions from the state based on the number of students that we have here within our school system. Currently, we're sitting around 11,200 and some change on students. That fluctuates daily. We enroll students on a daily basis. We also have students leave us on a daily basis. Just when you're talking with 11 to 12,000 people, people do move within our county, to our county, and also out of our county on a consistent basis. So we're looking at numbers each and every day. And we're looking at that budget number to make sure that we can get things balanced. And making sure that we take a stand and we don't harm people and have to release anyone. Very, very proud to say that in the time that we've been here, we have not had to do a reduction in force. We have not had to, no one person has lost a job based on ADM or a reduction in force within our school system. So we take a lot of pride in that. However, we do know that we have people that through natural attrition and retirement that we're trying to balance things to get our budget to where it's supposed to be, so we're not tapping in to that fund balance. The state does allocate us based on ADM, and those numbers for the general public is that we get one teacher per every 18 students in first grade. For kindergarten, we get one teacher for every 16 students in kindergarten. One teacher for every 17 students in second and third grade, and then fourth grade and fifth grade in that K-5 allotment, we get one teacher for every 24 students. Those numbers increase in class size as we go up in the grade levels. Once you get to middle school, we're getting one teacher for every 23, 24 students, and once we get to high school, you get one teacher from the state allocated to us for in ninth grade is one for every 26.5. And then 10, 11, and 12th grade, we get one teacher per 29. So you can imagine in high school, as you get there, when you're allocated only one teacher for 29 students, those classrooms are full. We're having to do an in-depth job of making sure that our classrooms are full and that we're not overstaffed in the positions that we have being K-12 allocated. So that's where we get those funds from and what they look like within our district.
So when a person retires or they choose to leave and go somewhere else and a position is vacant, we're having to make a decision whether or not to fill that position. And in many cases, we didn't fill positions, and that allowed us to capture positions and prune what we had because of our ADM, our average daily membership. And there were some cases where individuals maintained jobs but had to be transferred to other locations as well.
So we're having to operate within what we're allocated from the state of North Carolina. And again, we do get federal funds, and then we also get local funds from our county commissioners as well to operate. But we have been overstaffed, and I think every position is needed. Not that those positions, any individual position that we've ever had is not needed. It certainly is, and running a school is a very difficult and challenging business, and we want the best for our students. But we also have to get down within the ratios that we're allocated. So yes, over the past 18 months, we have looked through natural attrition of not filling positions, which has required people and some folks to move schools into where those vacancies are, move classrooms, move grade levels. We've consolidated classes and grade levels to get them within our means. In the past 18 months altogether, to date, we've captured 81 positions I looked at this morning that we've pulled into our school system. So we're getting there. I think we still have some work to do, but it's important that we meet those ratios and guidelines that we're financed upon.
And we're 81 positions lower than we've been in the past.
Correct.
The workload is higher than it's ever been. The expectations are greater. Accountability is greater. And I think it's a testament to the kind of employees, team members that we have in our school system to continue on and do the work that's there to be done. You mentioned 85+% of our budget is in personnel. Yes. That's where the cuts have to be made when you're making changes, substantial changes like that. So as Dr. Griffin has said, I value the support of our school board. I want our public to be aware of what we're dealing with as we work through the budget and the issues that surround the budget and the process that we go through. I don't want to ever be proud of saying that we've kept positions, but I think trying to make sure that we're balanced in an area with respect to how we're allotted positions from the state and those positions that we have. If we have positions in addition to what the state provides, that comes out of local funding.
Correct.
And we have several of those, and we'll never do away with that. We mentioned or position allotments. We also have months of employment allotment, correct, for assistant principals, for example. The state gives us a certain amount of months of employment, and we have to work within the means of what we have. So we continue to do that work. We want to be very prudent with our taxpayer dollars, and we want to make responsible decisions. We don't want to cut so deep that we cut to the bone and we can't function, but we also want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible with what we have in our charge of responsibility. That wraps up our segment today, unless there's something else you want to share on the allotment piece.
I certainly appreciate the support from you as our superintendent, of our school board, and understanding. And for every school that I represent and have a conversation with, I meet with their administration and their principals. And I'm certainly appreciative of our principals understanding that they are doing more with less, and our faculty members understanding that, and our employees understanding that, because we never want to cut the services to our students. They deserve the best, and we have great personnel and great employees, and certainly honored to be a part of this process.
No, and we're talking a lot about cuts at schools, but we've had cuts in other places as well.
We have,
correct?
Absolutely, from central office to child nutrition to wraparound. Everyone has felt the effects, and everybody has a little bit of skin in the game. But we're all a big team, and we're all a huge family, and we trust and confide in one another, and we will survive and we will flourish in the future.
Well, appreciate the job that you're doing.
Sir. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. We hope this has been informative. We look forward to being back with you next month with another show. Thank you.